Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm less angry than I was in yesterday's Daily Dose, even though we're recording this minutes after yesterday's Daily Dose. But I've kind of breathed it out. Still mad, but not going to scream about it. So there's that. I had a meeting this morning, so we recorded this yesterday, but we've gone back to Linchpin because I just keep uncovering things that I loved about this book. And this is particularly interesting to me. So I'm going to read this little section, and then I would love you to respond to it from your perspective as an alcoholic enjoying sobriety, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Successful people are successful for one simple reason. They think about failure differently. Successful people learn from failure, but the lesson they learn is a different one. They don't learn that they shouldn't have tried in the first place, and they don't learn that they are always right and the world is wrong, and they don't learn that they are losers. They learn that the tactics they used didn't work, or that the person they used them on didn't respond. You become a winner because you're good at losing. The hard part about losing is that you might permit it to give strength to the resistance, which is like your lizard brain, the part of you that's fight or flight. That you might believe that you don't deserve to win, that you might, in some dark corner of your soul, give up. Don't. So I had a definite thought when I read this, in particular about the work you and I do, but do you have anything you want to say initially?
No, you go first.
Okay. They think about successful people are successful because they think about failure differently. Here's what I think is interesting. Until February 1st, 2020, I wouldn't say that you were hiding from being a recovering addict. I wasn't pretending it didn't happen, but we also didn't address it. We never brought it up. We didn't talk about it. If someone had asked either one of us, I think we would have said, well, I've heard you say, well, that's because I'm an alcoholic. I don't drink because I'm an alcoholic. But we never initiated the conversation. We never started it. And I think it's because we viewed it as a pretty significant failure. And we viewed the years between you getting sober and February of 2020, we viewed those 3 years as completely separate and independent from the failure of your addiction. And it wasn't until we started thinking about it differently that actually the failure of your addiction, the failure of our ability to communicate about it to each other, and all the other pieces that we've written about and talked about so much, the failure actually became the strength when we stopped hiding from it or stopped pretending that it wasn't there, and instead not only embraced it, but promoted it, pushed it, declared it, and went super public with it. That's when we found a new level of success, and when we started actually taking this failure of addiction and making it something positive that has gone on to have really powerfully good reactions and responses for other people.
Yeah, I mean, it is true. I mean, I've read some leadership books. I was on a leadership course for me professional development. And how can you measure success? I mean, you have to measure it from a failure, and true leaders aren't afraid of making a mistake. The worst leader is someone who makes no decision whatsoever. You're not a bad leader if you don't make because you make a bad decision. You're a bad leader if you make no decisions. And
to avoid failing.
And it's the same with the initial steps of sobriety. How many people? I mean, I was one of them. I think in lucid moments, I was afraid to think about trying to do anything about my situation as an alcoholic because I was afraid of what you have to go through to start the process. Then the denial kicks back in. and you think, yeah, I'm fine. But there's a lot of fear in starting your road, the road of sobriety, and it's not an easy road. It's strewn with potholes. You have to navigate them, and most of those potholes are there because if you want to be literal about it, you're the one that put them there in the first place, I suppose, and you have to navigate them on the way back. But an inner strength. It's amazing to see people who thought I can never do this just grab hold of something inside them and say, you know what, this may take me 20 years to get to a point where I'm happy, but I'm going to give it a go. And there is a lot. I've witnessed a lot of integrity and inner strength in a lot of people from an incredible wide range of backgrounds that I'm actually proud to know. So, I mean, it's an interesting few paragraphs Dana read there, but it does sum up what you can do if you put your mind to it. You can't be afraid all your life. You have to take a first step. And it's not just for recovering from alcoholism. It's the first step for anything. If you want to put a less bleak look on it, I know some people who aren't addicts that say, well, I've said to them, why didn't you apply for that position? Oh, I'll never get it. How do you know? It's the same. I mean, it's for in everyday life. I can't buy that. I'll look terrible in it. Maybe you won't. I'd like to get my hair cut like this individual I saw in a magazine, but I don't think I could put it off. Well, get it cut. Most people's hair grows back.
Yeah, but a bad haircut is rough.
That's a bad haircut is rough, but it's not permanent.
No, it's not. But it sure feels like it.
In this modern day world, we have what are they called? Hats.
Yeah, I think that,
and it's winter, so you can wear a
well, yeah.
hat.
If you live here, if it's winter, if you live here, I really love this idea that successful people think about failure differently. I don't know anyone who likes to fail. I've never failed and thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be such a remarkable learning opportunity for me when I'm able to look back and reflect. That's never my first response. If you read my blog, you know that I talk about failure pretty openly. I've had some big failures, professional failures, personal failures, including being married to an addict, including participating in his fall into addiction. That's a failure I have to acknowledge and live with, that I participated in. I don't love that. No part of me initially thought, boy, I bet we're going to be able to spin this and do something really profound with it. That's not how I felt in the weeks and months and years leading up to it, and in the weeks and months after the initial shock of the reality set in. You don't have to think that way initially and immediately, but I really encourage you today to spend some time going back to think about what have been some of the failures in your life, and how did they change you? How did they shift you? What did you take from them? Let's go to a professional example. So twice at the Arts Partnership, we've been a finalist for a big regional grant, big, $100,000+. We've been a finalist twice. And I would say we've done everything right. I mean, it's hard to get to the finalist section. We've beaten out dozens of other regional nonprofits to get to that point. And it was devastating both times. And all I can tell you is that the first words out of my mouth both times, and the lingering feeling still even today, is I'm just such a loser that I couldn't finish this up, that I couldn't seal the deal. Well, okay, that's true on one hand, because I wrote the grant. I answered the questions. But I can also tell you that I've shifted the direction that this organization moves, not by myself, but as the leader, I have led the direction that this organization has shifted twice. And we have gone like this. We were going this way, hoping for money, counting on money, not getting the money. And I didn't do this and go backwards. I did this. Fine, we'll go this way. And the first shift made us ready to be a finalist the second time. And the second shift has made us ready to be a finalist whenever I work up the emotional armor to apply again. We're a better organization because I risked everything, including my own sense of self-worth, to get those grants. It was painful. It continues to be painful that we didn't get them. But we're a better organization because we tried. We tried, we failed, we reflected, we pivoted, we moved forward. That's exactly what you get to do in life. You tried to manage your addiction. I really believe you did. You failed to manage your addiction. You were confronted with loss. You had a whole new direction to go. You didn't go back. You accepted it, you faced it, and you walked forward into sobriety.
Someone once said to me, and this isn't their words. I think this could have been, I don't know, some famous general or something said something like, the only true failure is fear of failure. And when I heard that when I was in rehab, I looked at this person and said, "What in the name of God are you talking about?" And then, I thought about it. A week before then, I was sitting in a hospital bed. I had an IV drip. I had no idea what was going on. I was stone sober for the first time in a long time, and I was scared. And I thought, all right, here's a choice. Which direction do I go in? A lot of people I know initially woke up in that state, signed themselves out of hospital against medical advice, and then went to the nearest bar. And I made a decision then, I think, that I thought, I got to do something. Otherwise, I'm going to end up in here permanently. And it was a tough, scary decision. And it got scarier because what it meant was I had to stay away from home. I had to go to another hospital and stay there without taking a breath. And then when it was my birthday, and I said, it was terrible. And I was afraid of what would happen if I didn't do that. So I was kind of driven to success by fear. But ultimately, I was afraid of doing nothing. Now, that's a bad excuse. That's a terrible, terrifying example, but it's also a good one. But on a light note, there were times, I spent couple of years, I was permanently second. I was everyone's second choice for a lot of academic jobs.
Yes, inexplicably, you were the second choice.
It was terrible.
Come on, have you listened to this guy talk?
And I was just about to give up, and then, of course, I got a job. And I thought, yes, I'll take it. Brilliant. No more feeling terrible about myself by going all the way through interviews and everything. And I just looked at another job application and thought, I can't fill this one in. I can't do it. So, it is fear of doing nothing, fear of failure. But you think, you know what? It's that next step, getting up and doing it again. Finalists for 2 grants. You do learn a lot from it.
Yep. And looking at failure differently doesn't mean that it doesn't still hurt you emotionally, intellectually. It's not about letting go of the disappointment and the however else you respond to it. It just means that you don't let failure beat you.
Yeah, that's it. Everyone's going to fail.
We're all failing all the time in large and small ways because we're all striving all the time. And the truest thing, I ran into someone who had gotten one of these grants recently, a year ago. And I said to him, I can never apply for those again. I don't have it in me. And he said to me, well, that's fine. You don't have to. But you're thinking about it incorrectly. Do you want the money? I said, yes. And he said, well, then you can't have an emotional response. It's a business transaction. If you want the money to do the work, You got to do the work.
Huh.
So show up and do the work. Show up and transact the business. They're not emotionally rejecting you. It's not a boyfriend breaking up with you. It's a business transaction. Put on your business outfit and do the work. And he's absolutely not wrong. And I would have applied again, except COVID has shifted the way they're funding. So I will apply again, and I will be terrified every step of the way. And I will work with a coach to help me get over the fact that my inner fear is telling me, you can't do this. You've failed multiple times. You'll never be successful.
And you learn from failures. I was just thinking this just this week. I was actually listening to some academics go on about how hard it is to teach online and all this stuff. And I just sat there and I thought, you know what? I just do it. Why? Because nearly 4 years ago, I almost succeeded in drinking myself to death. So I think teaching during a pandemic is pretty easy. I think I can I got this. And you do learn from failure.
Yeah, it helps you prioritize.
I think I'm actually better at my job now because of hitting my personal rock bottom. It put everything into perspective. I'm a better husband. We've had Quinn on as a guest. I'm clearly much better at being a parent.
You're better at everything. There's nothing you're worse at.
I'm a better human being.
Yes. Yes. So let me read you this one last time. Successful people are successful for one simple reason. They think about failure differently. Successful people learn from failure, but the lesson they learn is a different one. They don't learn that they shouldn't have tried in the first place. And they don't learn that they are always right and the world is wrong. And they don't learn that they are losers. They learn that the tactics they used didn't work or that the person they used them on didn't respond. You become a winner because you're good at losing. The hard part about losing is that you might permit it to give strength to the resistance, that you might believe that you don't deserve to win, that you might, in some dark corner of your soul, give up. Don't. Yeah. So, don't. Hold on. It's Inspired Wednesday. If this doesn't inspire you, I'm not sure what will. Hold on. Take the risk and lean through it. Do not let failure get the best of you.
Be a willow instead of an oak.
Yeah, be bendy. We'll see you tomorrow for Guest Thursday. We have a great guest coming on. We're excited to talk with her, and you'll be glad to hear from her. Have a great day.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
It's weird.